Hello, we are in Psalm 118 in our current devotional series called Incarnate. We're looking at this amazing journey through some of the Old Testament and even into the New Testament on our way toward Christmas Day, toward the arrival of Jesus, that God on earth, God with us, Emmanuel. So today we're in Psalm 118, and what I want you to do is, if you have not read it, pause this video right now, go read Psalm 118. So I'll wait for a second so you can pause. And now that you are back, I want to tell you a story about when the original construction of the Golden Gate Bridge was happening. Newspapers were calling this project the Dance of Danger. And they called it the Dance of Danger because the bridge construction on top of the swaying catwalks and high towers, sometimes hundreds of feet in the air, blown by ill winds. They called it a dance because they were projecting that for every $1 million spent on this bridge, that it would be to the cost of one life. And that this is what the officials should expect. And so the engineers, when they began construction in 1932, placed a number of safety measures to be strictly enforced. And this included the mandatory use of hard hats, prescription filtered eyeglasses. There was absolutely no showboating because this would cause automatic firing. They would tie off all lines, and there would be an on-site hospital to help greatly reduce the casualty rate. And so after 4 years of construction, they spent just about $20 million to build this bridge, and only one worker had died. But with all those safety measures, the greatest and most effective safety device that they came up with was new to bridge building, and they got it actually from the circus. They put in a trapeze net. So the use of a trapeze and the net that was underneath it cost them $130,000. And it draped 60 feet below the roadbed under the construction, and it extended 10 feet to either side. So effective was the safety net that the newspapers began running box scores, and they quote unquote said, "Score on the gate bridge safety net to date, 8 lives saved." And those men whose lives had been delivered by the net were said to have joined the quote unquote halfway to hell club. Well, beyond that, the net had another significant benefit. It freed many of the workers from an often paralyzing sense of fear, and that, many said, helped them work more productively. So I say that story because we read Psalm 118 and we see our safety net. You could break down this psalm in a number of ways. It preaches so well. But the entire psalm is about God's presence. God's presence produces God's compassion for his people, God's confidence for his people, God's care for his people, and God's commendation for his people. And you see this in Psalm 118. And so we ask this question: what does this have to do with the Christmas story? Well, beyond being about God's presence, we no longer have to walk in fear. We can walk in confidence. We can walk in his compassion. We can walk in his care and his commendation, all because of the arrival of this young babe. And so our fear no longer is with us. And more than that, it's considered a messianic psalm because on at least 2 different places we see the Gospels quoting Psalm 118. In Psalm 118 verses 22 and 23, famously, we are told that this is the stone that the builders rejected, and it has become our cornerstone. And indeed, this was God's doing, the Lord's doing, and it is marvelous in our eyes. This is the very psalm that Jesus quotes in Matthew 21 verse 42. When he is giving a parable of the tenants, which is really a judgment upon the leaders. And so we look around and we can take that and apply that even today in our Christmas season, that our leaders really are a very temporary thing, and that God's presence is what provides the permanent. Then even earlier in Matthew 21, as Jesus is entering in on the backside of a donkey, just as his parents did coming into Bethlehem during the time of his birth, and it is considered the triumphal entry, that they quote, that those in the crowd are quoting Psalm 118 verse 26, "Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord." And that's your Christmas story. Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Do not look around at our circumstances to find blessing. Our blessing comes in the one who comes in the name of the Lord. So, your assignment today, as you consider what does this not just have to do with Christmas, but what does it have to do with me today? Look around and see God's presence. See God's blessing. And as you pray at the end of this video, and as you've read Psalm 118, be sure to say, "Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord." It is the Lord's doing, and it is marvelous. You all have a blessed day because of his presence. We'll talk to you soon.